Hello YouTube, this is Lustrous and Trans, aka M25, aka LewisJM, and today I am going to give you my personal thoughts of what would be the most interesting anime out there, and hopefully a certain manga could be able to be updated soon. What I'm talking about is one of the most original CGI anime out to date. Hoseki no Kuni, also known as Land of the Lustrous. Now, the manga came out in the mid-2010s, and slowly but surely gave it a cult following to the point where they had a one-off anime season for this said brand. Which unfortunately, they kind of cut it off at the end, forcing people to watch the manga. Now, I have seen the manga myself, well, not read it entirely, it's just looking bits and pieces of it, and then, of course, watching some of it on YouTube just for clarity. Although, I feel like that there are some nitpicks I want to discuss about, which would be a lot of spoilers, but if you don't want to be hearing spoilers from me, just go off this video and check out the Hoseki no Kuni / Land of the Lustrous mangas. You could ever buy it in the bookstore, get it online, or read it for free in one of the many manga web pages. I'll give you some time to think about it. Now, for those of you who read the mangas and know what I'm talking about, let me give you a brief detail. Having Phosphophyllite, who is the main character, mind you, to become this human / premachine hybrid is a bit of a reach. Especially when your antagonist, the Prince of the Moon, manipulated the whole thing just so he can get what he wanted, and for he and his kind have complete oblivion. Now, granted, the manga did got very dark for the last couple of chapters, especially considering how Phos reacted to create this gemicide on her gem kind. But it does start to get more interesting by chapter 95 with Phos being the only one left on the planet, having to succumb to like 10,000 years before she fully becomes a premachine. That and the fact that all the gems that were destroyed were reborn as Lunarians, which raises a lot more questions than I can expected. But unfortunately, once chapter 95 was taken care of, there were no other chapters since then. In fact, chapter 95 came out in December of last year, on Christmas. And it's been about almost nearly a year at the time of this recording, and not everyone knows what's going on with the mangas, let alone a second season of this of the anime adaptation. So it does feel like that the creator of that series is keeping her time just so she can find an appropriate ending, which to me, I feel like it's much more understandable. I know that some people want to say that cliffhanger ending would be the perfect ending, but without certain conclusions and a big payoff at the end, which it's obvious it's going to result in like 100 chapters or so, it does feel like that they're trying to figure out what to do. In fact, some people have been trying to figure out a what-if scenario, what's going to happen after chapter 95. Even a YouTuber who goes by the name of Sarah, don't know the last name, came up with the series involving Phosphophyllite making a prayer for themselves, and wanting everything back the way it was, and perhaps change her outcome. that series was supposed to be called Remnant of the Radiant, and she had 3 episodes in the bag, but not until those said videos, along with her entire channel, was immediately cut off. I saw that personally when I was trying to search, and yeah, I got the feeling that YouTube must have strike her out just because of certain issues with copyright claims. Wish I would have showed you a link so you would know what I'm talking about. But I do have a link down below about my version, which in my fanfiction, which involves Phosphophyllite and the Teen Titans, called Teen Titans Phosphophyllite Chronicles, in which the gem and of course Cinnabar got taken into a new world, and they got separated, which led to Phos joining forces with the Teen Titans, which take place at the very beginning where the Titans started to form, and it will be a complete rehash of the Teen Titans series as a whole, with the gem in the middle of it. The link's down below if you want to take a look, because I feel like that she would be portrayed more as a hero than as a quote unquote creation of a human. So yeah, I think my works pretty good. Just you can leave me a review after you read through like the first couple of episodes I've uploaded. Anyways, what I was thinking of doing is figuring out what would be the best said endings to the manga series, considering that by the time this video has been released, it's pretty much going to be the next chapter we released on Christmas of this year, considering the last chapter was Christmas from last year. So hopefully, and this is a big hopefully, we would get a satisfying ending. But to me, I want to give you my choices of endings of how Land of the Lustrous is going to end. Be that one that of good, one that of bad, one that is a neutral, and one that is an extra, which would be a bit of a reach, but hey, I'm trying to mad-lib as much as I can about these scenarios. Anyways, let us all begin with the good ending of Land of the Lustrous. Now, for the good ending, I was thinking along the lines of doing what the Lunarians want Phos to do, and what Phos wanted back. So, here's what I was thinking. Phos will spend 10,000 years until she is ready to pray for the Lunarians. And the Lunarians would, and once that time comes, she prays for them to move on, and they all get wiped out, including the former gems / Lunarians. But during those 10,000 years wandering around aimlessly, they discover more gems being born into the world, and it got dawned on them. But by the way, I'm referring to them or they because it's a genderless gem, and they have like male proportions on top and female proportions in the bottom. Anyways, moving on ahead, the purpose of seeing more gems being born and raising their own family, they soon start to realize that this new generation will have to go through the same thing the previous generation had endured. So much so that they want these newborn gems to live happier and carefree lives. So, when the 10,000 years came, they would pray for the gems, for the Lunarians to move on, and they got wiped out. Thus, in turn, not only did they fulfill the prince's promise, but also can get the family they lost for so long ago, with Phos being the new sensei. seems kind of sappy at first, but looking back, it does feel like that's what Phos wanted. A family. After all, Phos was one of the youngest gem of them all, and considering how their previous family didn't treat them well enough, and would do a better job at raising the new generation better than anyone else. Of course, this is a bit of a reach on that part, considering that by praying for the Lunarians to move on, meaning that the gems be removed, which goes into the next ending, the bad one. Now, for the bad ending, this one would be a bit of a sticking point, but Phos will do the same thing from the good ending and wished and prayed for the Lunarians to move on. But no gems would be born during the 10,000 years. My belief would be during the invasion, some of the Lunarian forces must have, I don't know, chipped off all of the gems from the Shore of the Beginnings, I believe, just so no one was born, and perhaps use them as either decoration or create more gem-like Lunarians. But it does raises questions on of course the whole gem Lunarian situation. I feel that that's a bit scientifically impossible even for me to understand it. Regardless, it does feel like that they're trying to feel like it is for the best to have Phos to be alone in the island with nothing to do but wait 10,000 years before they are fully ready to pray. So once Phos prays for them to move on, there's nothing for them to do. They're alone and isolated until their body will destroy itself and become nothing, leaving them to die. I know it's one weird way of saying it, and yeah, I don't know if the creator is going to do that type of ending, but you need to have expectations on what this author is planning to do when the final 4 chapters are done. I'm just kind of hoping, and this is just me saying it, that we don't go down to the bad ending part. Otherwise, we'll piss off a lot of people. Though then again, maybe the good ending would piss some more people off. But there is one other ending that could be equally balanced, even for me to understand. The neutral ending. Now, for the neutral ending, it's a bit of the good and the bad, but with 2 different scenarios between them. Now, for one scenario, all the newborn gems are created in the Shore of the Beginnings, and Phos raises them as their own sensei. But during those 10,000 years, they feel like they forgot the prayer part, which in turn led to the Lunarians going back to their old ways and making sure that Phos is prey by attacking Earth and taking the new generation of gems, to which Phos will keep them at bay. Now, it would be a repeated cycle like during the previous encounter, but with the new generation taking on not only the Lunarians but the new generation of gem Lunarians. And of course, considering that this is Phos we're talking about, the first newborn gem would be a Phosphophyllite, So, so they are, so they rate this Phos better than the previous generation. I mean, these are all just basic commodities. Now, while the first part seems to be a strong factor in an ending, there is a second ending that could be of interest. Like, say for example, the new generation of gens are born. Phos had 10,000 years to become the new prayer machine. And, of course, as always, they pray for the Lunarians to move on. But not all of them. Let me give you a bit let me remind you that not only we have the Lunarians, but also the gems that were turned to Lunarians, which of course, scientifically impossible to understand the biology between it. So Phos would only let the old generation of Lunarians to move on, but spare the new generation of Lunarians that used to be gems. And you know why? Because Phos cared for the former gems, while the old generation treated Phos like they're useless due to the hardness of 3.5 and very fragile, and not being able to fight. Phos has a keen respect for that generation, especially Sensei, Kongo Sensei, or Adamant as he would be preferred. So they spare the new generation of Lunarians while keeping the new generation of gems to themselves. Thus, in turn, created a brand new war between both new generations, of which hence starts this cycle. It is kind of an interesting clarity, and I feel like that would be a much better path than all the other previous endings. But we don't know yet until we get the next final chapters from the creator of Hoseki no Kuni. Now, while all those endings seem to be the best case scenario, there is one special ending that I would think of that would ultimately lead to something, though I don't think that the author's gonna do that. That is the extra ending. Now, the extra ending could be a bit of a reach and maybe controversial part, but considering the previous 3 or 4 when you count the neutral part, I think this one would be a bit of a unique way of saying it. So, here goes nothing. Turns out, during the past 95 chapters, Phos dreamt the whole thing. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of doing right now. Phosphophyllite, the very gem that went through so much trauma, sacrificed so much, only to lead to misery and despair, dreamt it all in their head. Just think about it like this. Think, in the very first chapter, when did you see that protagonist? Simple. Laying in a huge bed of grass, sleeping. What if, per se, that as she was sleeping, she dreamt through the whole thing and ultimately woke up and realized it was like a repeated cycle. Like a Groundhog Day, but only this time they knew what happened and would prevent it. That is a bit much, yes, that I'm aware of, but think of it like this. Phosphophyllite, the very protagonist and hero of the story, went through so much, had to go through body augmentations, losing arms, legs, and a head to get new parts, being taken to the moon, realizing of Kongo Sensei's truth, taking some of the gems with them by returning, causing genocide, causing all of this, and woke up realizing that it was all a dream. Or was it? Because when you think about it, it is if they foresaw all the things that would happen, they need to prevent it by changing a certain aspect. Now, I don't know what aspect would that be. Could be not losing the legs during the sea exploration, or losing the arms during the wintertime, or better yet, losing the head because it was obvious that that said head would cause Phos to become a totally different person and cause all the trouble to begin with. It is too much to think about, but if that actually happened, then maybe they would learn from past mistakes and would lead to what I would believe to be a depressing and dangerous future for them. Now, I'm pretty sure that the author won't think of something like that, but like I said, Sarah on YouTube did try to do a series about Phos praying their life back, and ultimately got back to when after losing their arms, gaining gold alloy, and losing Antark in the process. So perhaps maybe something like that would happen in a different sense, but it's just me trying to piece together what needs to be done. So yeah, that would be a bit too much. Regardless, I think that would be one ending that no one would see coming, and I'm hoping, and just hoping, that things would go the way it would. And there you have it. 4 concise endings of what would happen when Land of the Lustrous is finished. Now, these are some good endings just on some clarity. And even though the extra one is a bit extreme, I think that seems to be a fitting ending for people like me to see. Now again, and just to be more blunt, I don't know what the author is gonna do once she gets around to finishing up the story, but I'm kind of hoping that in December of 2021, at Christmas time, we might get the ending we're hoping for. I know a lot of people saying that cliffhanger, that chapter 95 is by far would be the only ending that people could think of, and that people think of how it would end properly. But to me, I feel like, considering that the plan was to have 100 chapters, ending has to be paramount. Because if it doesn't, then all of that effort goes to waste. And trust me, when you try to put up a good story such as that, you need to have an ending that is paramount to where it all leads to. I'm hoping that this year we might get the end of the story, because if not, then I guess we have to wait maybe another year or 2, or perhaps 10,000 years. Oh my god, just thinking of that would be a pain in the ass, even for anyone loyal to the franchise like me. So hopefully we'll get a proper conclusion and not a cliffhanger. So that's it for the whole story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you all next time. #, where are the good cartoons?